See, Dakota has their own security, their own beach does, warriors. They were supplied equal as the British Army was supplied military. All the supplies they get, the same, Dakotas get it. So there was two armies in this land, in that map of that Aerosmith map. That 49th parallel, south of 49th parallel, you're going to read books that there's a lot of massacres for people, women and children being massacred by the United States cavalry. But you're not going to find no books north of 49th parallel being massacred. You know why? Because we had an army. We had the same weapons as the United States cavalry. So the people were protected, well protected, north of the 49th parallel. What do you think? What do you think the Crees and Ojibways took refuge into our land? Because they were safe. And then when they took refuge, later on, Canada made them sign treaties on land that doesn't belong to them. And those documents we have. The one thing we have to really understand is the Indian, under the Indian Act. The Indian Act goes against all human rights. It's racial. And you have, those are your laws. That's why Canada treats First Nations the way they treat them. Inadequate funding, you know, molded housing, you know, everything we're dying from. Diabetes, everything, because we're not eating the food we're supposed to eat. You know, laws cannot protect us because we're under the Indian Act. It's a racial policy. It cannot protect you. But if you take that Indian Act and not be under the Indian Act, well then, what are you going to be under? The court of law. The court of law is the rights, title, and privileges. That's still. That's what we have to focus on. And you know, I have 5 daughters and a son, and I have grandchildren. I want them to have that when I'm gone. You know, I want them to have a future. Because nobody made a future for me in my young life. I had to go through that residential school system. I had to put on a suit and a tie and go to church. You know, I was forced to do all those things. But you know, it's because they recognize me as an Indian under the Indian Act. But the Dakotas are not Indians under the Indian Act. It's the people that surrendered their rights and title and privileges are the ones that are Indian, the Indians and under the Indian Act. We need to understand that. So that's where we're at right now. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
What's going to be the game plan in 3 months' time, in August? What is the game plan?
The game plan is the map, because they're saying, give us something on the land, they said. The map is what they have to answer to. What kind of agreement did they have with the Dakota to take over the 3 provinces, or even Ontario? What kind did we surrender, or did we make an agreement for them to take over that land? That agreement we want from them.
Where's that meeting going to be?
We're not not sure yet.
Have it in close proximity where the Oshika people like us can go sit down.
Yeah.
You have it in Saskatoon, Winnipeg, wherever, all our bosses go, our leadership. That's why I'm sitting here tonight, like you, with my 3 daughters, my granddaughter. We got leadership back home. They should be telling us these things. So when you go to the office and ask questions, they give you a mean, wicked look and say, how dare you say that? Don't be saying that. So you don't fix your shingles. You don't do things to you. It happens in every community. I'm tired of that. I think I told you that, Tomashi. I'm getting more progress from Chief Brown, I said, and it shouldn't be like that. And I think that's what we need to talk about. Is the real issues before come August. Where are we going to meet? If we're going to do that gathering in Saskatoon or Regina or at some powwow, let us know.
Well, you know, I know why it's like that. The chiefs are more into the Indian Asian agenda, the chiefs and council agenda, the reserve agenda. That's where they're caught. Me, I'm focusing on the Dakota. So I'm not really focusing on the reserve matters, you know, the reserve regulations, the reserve funds. I'm not concentrating on. I leave that up to the council to look after everything at home while I do the Dakota nations. I think about the Dakota. I don't think about the reserve, because there's 2 things right now. The Dakota nations and the reserve are 2 different things. And that's what I can't remove myself from the reserve all the time to stay on track. If I concentrate on the reserve all the time, then I lose focus on the Dakota issue. And that's the problem right now. Most of the chiefs are on the reserve issue, funding issue. You don't look at the documents that are here that we need to use is not going to fall by the reserve. You know, the Indian Affairs or the FSOs come and they claw back funding. It makes us run around trying to recoup that clawback. And then it takes us away from dealing with the real problems. But we're chasing dollars. We're too busy chasing dollars. That's why we lose focus.
This court case, is this another issue coming up?
No.
Nothing, okay.
No, I'm just asking them, give us the document where the court has agreed to be Indian, under the Indian Act. Give us that document.
Yeah.
Show us where we give up our rights, our title, and our privileges. Show us a document. That's all they can.
Why,
But we're using that map.
yeah.
See, when did we sell this land to you? Those are the questions that they can't answer.
Yeah, they can't answer because they haven't got no proof.
Yeah.
They haven't got no evidence to it.
We filed a claim with the court in July 24th of 2009. And from that point on, the lawyer said, find evidence of this treaty, the British. And that's why those medals were important, because those medals were given as recognition. And then the other thing we had to find was evidence of treaty behavior. If we can't find the actual treaty, the written treaty, then we're supposed to find evidence of that treaty behavior. So that's what, from July of 2009 until November 30th. November 30th, that's when Canada came back with their statement of defense. In their statement of defense, there's 5 points. And the first one was, they said that they acknowledged that the Dakotas have a treaty with the British. So we didn't have to prove that anymore. But they used it in the past tense, they said had. They said after the War of 1812, that treaty expired with the British after the War of 1812. So we had to find evidence of treaty behavior from 1812 all the way on. And that's what the documents that Tasha's talking about, that's what we found. The other thing was this Aerosmith map that he's talking about, 1857. You still remember this part of the country used to be called Rupert's Land. If you remember your history. So the British had a charter, Hudson's Bay Charter they called it, and it was going to expire in 1869. And they weren't going to renew it anymore. And Canada had already started discussions in making a country. So in 1857, they set up what they called the Select Senate Committee. And one of the members of this committee was John A. Macdonald in 1857. So that map that Tashi's talking about, it shows all the tribes in the area, both north and south of the 49th parallel. And so it says in big block letters, it says Sewer, Dakota, and it starts right from northwest of Edmonton, where Edmonton is, and it curls right across the prairies down into Minnesota and North Dakota. So John A. Macdonald became Prime Minister. So for Canada's lawyers to say that Canada has no prior knowledge of the Dakotas being resident north of the 49th parallel, that their argument is gone right there. Because this is an official British map that was given to us. And then the other point they say is that there was no fraud or misrepresentation in any of the dealings with the Dakotas, so that one was a little puzzling because no one ever said that there was misrepresentation or anything like that, but fraud is one of the capital crimes. Murder and rape and fraud. There's no statute of limitations on those. So by Canada saying that there was no fraud, what they were trying to do was to get the Attorney General, they were trying to get the judge to throw this case out of court. Because if there's no fraud, then that statute of limitations is gone. And what they said was that the Dakotas have known this for years and years and years. Why are they just doing this now? But the judge didn't go along with that, and the judge proceeded to go to court with it. So January 30th of this past year, Canada had to submit its evidence to court, the same way we submitted our evidence. And Canada's evidence consists of 104 pages of letters written from Indian agents back to Canada and back again. And that's their evidence saying that we're refugees. And these letters, all they say is that these Dakotas came across the line. And there's 2 of them from 1864, and the rest of them are from 1870 and up. That's all Canada has to use for its defense. The other thing, the other part with that fraud was, if you never met James Ritchie, he's our researcher. You remember that movie Jaws, that oceanographer? Because Richard Dreyfuss is that character. Well, picture him, that's our researcher. Anyway, he's walking down the street in Boissevain. And this little old lady comes up to him and says, "Excuse me, are you the gentleman that's working with the Indians?" And James knows we don't like being called Indians, but he just went along with her and said, yeah, I am. She says, "I think you need to look at my great uncle's journal." And he said, "Well, what did your great uncle do?" Well, he was a fraud investigator with the Department of Indian and Northern Affairs. So he went and looked and he said there was just a little journal like that. Most of it had stuff that he already had seen before. But he came across the fraud investigation part. So the great uncle's name was Ebenezer McCall. So he went to the Indian Affairs website and he punched in Ebenezer McCall, because there's not too many people that are going to be named Ebenezer. If it's something like John Smith, you would have got 2,000 responses, but but nothing turned up for Ebenezer McCall. So then he got a hold of National Archives and he asked about this, and they said, don't bother going into the Indian Affairs websites because they've already cleaned it up. And if you haven't seen some of those Indian Affairs files, what they mean by cleaning it up is that they'll have a document like that, and they'll black out whole paragraphs. Some of those pages, they just have a couple of words in there. You've seen some of those? Yeah. So that's what they meant. So they said, try this other way. So he went into the National Archives website, punched in Ebenezer McCall, and here this document pops up, 670-page document, and it's fraud investigation of the Department of Indian Northern Affairs, 1877 and 1878. And then there it lists a fellow by the name of J.A.N. Provenche. Provenche was the superintendent of Indian Affairs at the time. And this document also implicates the Attorney General of Manitoba. So when this document came, the first thing we thought of was, why did Canada allow this document to exist when they knew that the Dakotas are going to use this in their court? Well, what happened, what National Archives told us is that there's thousands and thousands of boxes of documents from right from 1867 and onward. And what Canada has done is they've taken things that they find important, and they'll put them on microfiche. Like there's it's a machine, you loop this reel through there, and then you can look at these old documents without actually looking at the document itself. Well, within the past 10 years, they have this thing called where you scan a paper, and then you can post it, you can send it as an email. That's what they did in the National Archives. So they have all these boxes, and when they hire these people to do this work, it's not up to them to decide what the content of that information is. So all they do is they scan it and they catalog it and they put it in the archives. So within the past few years, this document was put on that website without anybody knowing that it was there. And this little old lady gave us the name of this guy, and when our researcher punched it in, we got our hands on this document, and we made sure we got a copy of that document before it disappeared.